Hello, welcome back to Most Amazing Top 10. Thanks for coming back, guys. My name is Danny Berg, and sometimes crazy coincidences happen throughout history. Just a few weeks ago, Instagram user Unknown CPU sent me this picture of a man from the 1800s who looks incredibly similar to me, I think you might say. Like, even I can admit that's pretty crazy. I'm just jealous of his beard, to be honest. But there are plenty of other crazy coincidences out there. Some of them are just downright unbelievable, but that's what makes them so amazing. So let's get into this, let's see what I mean, and start off like we always do with our number 10. Meet Alex and Donna Voutsinas. They met at work and fell in love. Aww. She was from Florida and he was from Canada. Just days before they got married, Alex was looking through some of Donna's childhood photos and stumbled across this one of her posing at Disneyland with her brothers. Alex looked closely in the background and oh my god, he realized the man in the background was his own father and the boy he was pushing was him. What? That is unbelievable. They were from different countries but somehow ended up in the same childhood picture together 20 years before they married at Disneyland as kids. Is that fate? Is that fate? I think that's fate. Coming in at number 9, we have the story of a 70-year-old man from Finland. In 2002, he was riding his bike in a snowstorm in the town of Rahe when he was sadly hit and killed by a truck. It was a tragic and rare occurrence, but just 2 hours later, another man was hit and killed by a truck while cycling less than a mile down the road. That man was his twin brother. Police said it was unlikely that the second twin had even heard about his brother's death before he died the exact same way. The first officer on the scene said that when she heard the 70-year-olds were twin brothers, it made the hair on her back stand on end. Blah, creepy. Next up at number 8, Dr. Peter Scott was the co-founder of the Loch Ness Phenomena Investigation Bureau. Their aim was to identify the legendary creature known as the Loch Ness Monster. Now, Dr. Peter Scott wanted to make sure that whatever was lurking beneath the waters there could be protected as an endangered species, but first he needed to give it a proper Latin name for it to be registered. He called it this, Nessiteras Rhombopteryx. Now the word came from ancient Greek and mean the monster of Ness with the diamond-shaped fin. But not long after this announcement, a journalist with a bit too much time on their hands, I think, decided to unscramble the letters, and they realized they were a perfect anagram of the phrase monster hoax by Sir Peter S. What? That's pretty mental, right? Come on. Can anyone explain that? Can any of you guys explain that? I don't care about all the Nessie pictures out there. You don't need to explain that. Just explain this one for me. Next up at number 7, we have the incredible story of the Jim twins. In 1940, twin boys were separated at birth in Ohio and adopted by separate families. When they finally tracked each other down at the age of 37, they found out that they had both been named Jim. But oh, the weirdness was just getting started. Jim and Jim both had childhood dogs that they named Toy. When they grew up, they both married women called Linda. They both then divorced their respective Lindas and remarried women who were both called Betty. They both had a son who they have both named James Allen. They both got tension headaches, smoked the same brand of cigarettes, drove the same model of car, and went to the same part of Florida for their vacation, and the list goes on. I think they're both wondering why the other one had to copy them so hard. Like, dude, can you just get your own life, Jim, and stop copying mine, Jim? Number 6. In 1975, the Royal Gazette paper of Bermuda reported that a man called Erskine Ebbin had been hit and killed by a taxi as he drove his moped. What was crazy about this though was that Erskine's brother had died a year before too. He was killed on the exact same moped. He was hit by the exact same taxi with the exact same taxi driver, and here's the real kicker, he was carrying the exact same passenger in the back both times. Whoa! I'm personally surprised the police didn't arrest that passenger because he might have been some sort of like genius murderer who kills his victims with like taxis. Next up at number 5, we're going back to Detroit in 1937 where a street sweeper named Joseph Figlock was out, sweeping the streets when a baby fell out of the sky and hit him on the head and shoulder. The baby had fallen from the 4th story of a nearby building and likely would have been killed if Joseph was not there to stop the fall. That was strange, but Joseph carried on with his life for another year, but then, while out sweeping a completely different street, another baby landed on him from a nearby building. Again, it hit Joseph on the head, and again the baby survived. This guy was like the strangest superhero of all time, saving babies with the power of his cushiony head. And now at number 4, in the 1920s, there were 3 Englishmen on a train in Peru. They were all travelling separately and had never met each other, and were already pretty surprised that there were 3 English guys on a train together on the other side of the world. Then they introduced each other. The first man's surname was Bingham. The second man's surname was Powell. The third man raised his eyebrows in shock and announced to the other 2 that his surname was Bingham Powell. Whoa, the chances of that happening are mental. At number 3 now, we have the story of Michael Dick from England, who wanted to get in touch with his daughter Lisa, who he had not seen for 10 years after splitting up with his wife and moving away from his home. He tried everything, but when all else failed, he asked for some help from a local newspaper. They took this picture you're seeing now for the article. Amazingly, Lisa saw the article, but before she could get in touch, she realized something incredible. She saw herself in the background of the photo with her mother. They had actually taken a picture just there moments before and were walking away when Michael took this picture. The very person he was trying to look for after 10 years was in the photo he used to find her. I bet that's going to be a very important family photo. Coming in at number 2, in 1914, a German mother took a picture of her newborn son to be developed in Strasbourg, but before she could collect it, World War I broke out. The woman had to leave the picture there and considered it lost forever. Then, 2 years later, she was in Frankfurt, over 100 miles away, and now she had a new baby girl. Again, she went to get a picture of her daughter developed, but when she got it back, she was quite annoyed to see there had been some sort of double exposure with someone else's picture in the background. It wasn't someone else's picture, it was her picture of her son that she took 2 years before, over 100 miles away, that had somehow ended up in a different store, marked unused, and had been sold back to her, where she then put another picture of another child of hers on top of it. And finally at number 1, we're going back to 1899, where a man was struck and killed by lightning while standing in his backyard in Taranto, Italy. That's incredibly unlucky. The chances of that happening are very low. But guess what? 30 years later, in 1929, his son was also killed by lightning in the exact same place. Okay, that's crazy, right? That is crazy. A father and a son from the same family being killed by lightning in the same place. What are the chances of that? Well, 20 years after that, on October 8th, 1949, a man called Rolla Primada was also killed by lightning on exactly the same spot. He was the son of the second victim and grandson of the first. Incredible. I'm seriously wondering if that family was like made out of metal or something, because nobody should attract lightning that much. Well guys, that was our top 10 coincidences you won't believe, although I kind of do hope you believe them, I'm not lying. If you don't trust me though and you want to check them out for yourself, you can find all the sources in the description box below, and I also want to hear from you. What is the craziest coincidence you've ever come across? Can it beat some of these we've talked about? Can it beat my 19th century twin? Let me know down below. Thanks as ever for watching Most Amazing Top 10. My name is Danny Burr, you can find me on Instagram somewhere down there, and I'll see all of you guys in a bit.